Let's devote some attention to our winter sports teams that are above 500 and fighting for playoff positioning right now.
All right. My first statement regarding the Minnesota Wild is I need more. I need to see more. And I'm actually not necessarily just talking about the team, who has been up and down, obviously, a little bit here. There's been peaks where the Wild have played really well, and they've been peaks where they've been pretty ineffective. I need more from a top-line center. So Sam Steele, Judd knows all about this here. So Sam Steele was plugged in here.
Wonderful football commentator on ESPN, yes.
Also, yes, she does a very good job. I heard she even doesn't even go by Sam Steele anymore. Anyway, so Steele was plugged in here from the Ducks, a former first-round pick. Comes to the Wild, has a nice little cup of coffee, gets placed on the top line after Ryan Hartman's was injured, and he kind of reaped the benefits of playing with guys like Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello. But to be honest, I think the clock has struck midnight on the Cinderella slipper with Sam Steele. Over the last 14 games, your top line center, who's playing with two very elite playmakers in Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello, just 2 goals, just 5 assists to go along with that. Now, they've always kind of figured out guys to put there. They did that with Ryan Hartman last year. Now, to their credit, it worked with Hartman. He scored 30 goals last season, but again, kind of a flash in the pan. I think that line deserves a hell of a lot more. You got the trade deadline coming up here in a month, and if you don't even want to go that route, you can go internally and look down at Marco Rossi, who's playing very well now in Iowa, and he's playing very comfortably. I don't think this team can be taken seriously with Sam Steele centering your top line when you begin the playoffs. The Wild are in position to make it. I believe they have a 75% chance to make the postseason as of today, according to Money Puck. So odds are they're probably going to be one of those 8 teams come playoff time. But Sam Steele, I can't take a team seriously with basically a slappy between the middle of Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello. I need more.
Phil, Whisperer?
The Whisperer
I think
has
he's moving
gone
back.
dark over the last 4 or 5 days.
I heard he's packing.
Yeah.
I heard he's going to meet you back here.
Well, the Whisperer actually, he did float an idea for a statement. And so he doesn't want to be too aggressive because he did put his career on the line with one of his postseason takes that went awry. But he did
What career?
He likes to write these handwritten notes and mail them to me from undisclosed locations. So if I could here, I'm just gonna take a page in the Whisperer.
In a bottle.
The handwritten.
It washed up on shorts. Yeah.
Washed up on shore in the Pacific.
And he is here to bring some optimism. He believes that Eriksson Ek is playing the best hockey of his career to this point. Eriksson Ek, over the last 2 months, 27 games since the beginning of December, is essentially averaging a point per game. He's like an 80-point player if you take his performance from the beginning of December. And a guy that we kind of wondered for a number of years, okay, is he going to score goals at all? Like, what's his deal? Mm-hmm. Saw a jump last year. If you were to take the last 2 months, extrapolate to a full season, he would be a 35-goal scorer. Eriksson Ek has become a player that can put the biscuit in the basket, boys. Thank you to the Hockey Whisperer for, I don't know how he's watching these games, if he's got internet with like NHL or ESPN Plus or whatever.
Plus, no blackouts wherever he is probably. So, yeah, you can probably get those games.
He probably goes to a bar in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Says turn on the Wild game.
Yeah. Are we to believe that Eriksson Ek has reached a new level as an offensive producer going forward here? Maya Mackey seems to believe so outside
Maya
the
Mackey's
studio
a huge
door
fan.
right now.
She's a huge fan. Yeah. And guess what? She wants her Nutrisource right now, damn it. Part of his production, I believe, is on the power play as well. So here's an interesting question off of that I think also goes back to what Dex is saying about Sam Steele. Dean is loath to mix things up. He'll do it sometimes, but line combination wise, when you need a goal now, third period, should you consider a move such as putting Ek with the first line, Dex? Like that's the other question. Because like Sam Steele plays for 2 periods, he plays that role okay. He's going to take care of his defensive responsibilities. He's not going to submarine your line, but he's also not going to elevate them. But if you're down by 2 goals, to Phil's point, Dex, do you say, okay, Sam Steele's not going to help us enough now? I know we love we love the grief line, and it's a really cute name. But do we put Eriksson Ek up on that line to try and get, potentially more offensive production? I think that's the question, and I would like to see something like that.
So also, dating back to last season, Joel Eriksson Ek has only spent 185 minutes on the ice with Kirill Kaprizov 5-on-5. He has spent 1,300 minutes away from him. So they do not share the ice together. They rarely ever share the ice together. Small sample size. They've allowed 5 goals, they've scored 5 and allowed 10. So they have a -5 if you want to go plus minus, and they're limited sample size together. But I think there is probably a case that he deserves more of a promotion. He was a guy who was a grinder and is going to do a lot of those dirty things. He honestly does a lot of things that Mikko Koivu did at his peak when he was on the ice too. But at this point, I'm willing to try someone else here. Yeah, Sam Steele's a placeholder. He's fine. He's not going to shipwreck things. But I think that line deserves better, and I wouldn't be upset either if the Hockey Whisper is correct that you give a promotion to someone like Joel Eriksson Ek there.
Wow. Yeah, is he becoming? Because I feel like it's been a theme for at least 5 years, maybe even longer on this show and Judd's Hockey Show. Like, they need a top line center if they want to be more than just a one and done playoff team at some point.
Right. But there's no rule. There's no rule that your line combinations to start the game stay put. So, like, third period, again, you're down by a goal, you're down by 2. The best. Now, I'm not comparing Ek to these players, but guess what? When the Oilers need a goal, if Draisaitl and McDavid aren't together, they get put together. Yep. In their heyday, guess what? If Taves and Kane weren't on the same line in the third period, they'd be like, screw it, we're going to put them. So, to both of your points, Sam Steele is a guy who is going to do his job, but he's not capable of doing much more. Eriksson Ek is a guy who can score. So that's where Dean needs to loosen up the reins a bit. I think a lot of coaches now get too in love with juggling lines at times. So I'm not an advocate of mix things up constantly, but Dean has gone the other way, and he doesn't do it. It feels like he doesn't want to, and it's like, no, dude, it's okay, especially when you don't owe Sam Steele. He's played well. No, you don't. He can be demoted on a line. You're not, sending him down to Iowa. So I like what both of you are saying, and I agree completely with it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Or who's up? Is it Judd?
Judd.
It's me. It's me.
Okay.
Good for you, Kirill, is my statement. So Kirill Kaprizov, and this is going to sound stupid, and it is, he got pushback because at the All-Star game, he skipped out on his skill competition. He got out of it and had Fiala do the fastest skater. And then on Saturday, in those just silly games that they play 3-on-3, he basically, I think he turned the puck over. He was a -2. And he looked like, aside from babysitting Ovechkin's kid on the ice on Friday, he was having no fun. And there was pushback of what's going on with that? What? You know what? Number one, his buddies were all in Cabo. Number two, that All-Star weekend is the silliest thing. That 3-on-3 game, 3-on-3 OT is good because it's competitive. This is not competitive. This is, in fact, if I was a goalie, I wouldn't ever go. I'd be like, I'm not going. You can.
I'm not going to get lit up
exactly.
Here. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing for goalies.
And you're a sacrificial lamb because no one helps you. But
Yeah.
Kirill Kaprizov, here's what I love. When it's time to be competitive, I would argue there is nobody in the league probably more competitive. He gets pissed. He is a competitor. He does not back down from guys, okay? But you know what? The kid is smart enough to know a sham when he's put into a sham. And the NHL All-Star Game is a sham. So good for him. And for anyone out there who's like, what was he doing? No, well, he wasn't having fun. No, he wants to be on vacation. I don't blame him. So good for you, Kirill. I loved the fact that you saw that thing for being the fraud it completely is.
Actually, I have a quick All-Star weekend take here. So I watched way more of the NFL Pro Bowl festivities than I have in 20 years.
Really?
I actually love, and I caught some of the NHL stuff. Not enough to like say for sure that I like the format going forward, but I like that these leagues are tinkering with what have been broken All-Star games and Pro Bowls. So to turn the Pro Bowl game into the Pro Bowl games was pretty fun. I don't know if you guys caught any of this, but they literally had like a long drive golf competition. They had kick-tack-toe where they grabbed, like DePaula was the long snapper for the NFC, and they grab a kicker, a punter, and a long snapper, and they have a huge tic-tac-toe board, like an LED board.
Okay.
And so the AFC will play the NFC, so the long snapper has to snap the ball back and hit one of the whatever the sections on the tic-tac-toe board. And then you got Justin Tucker lining up from 45 yards to kick one into one of the sections. Just goofy stuff, random stuff.
Yep.
They had 7-on-7 games where Kirk Cousins was lighting it up, finding Juszczyk, his future teammate in San Francisco. So I don't know. I don't need to see these. The baseball game, I think, is the one that can be closest to replicating an actual game. The NBA is like a race to 190 points. Trying fun things and playing fun games is better to me. And I found myself more hooked actually watching some of the Pro Bowl games more than I would have ordinarily. Maybe it's because we're sitting in an empty house and there's nothing to do. But yeah.
Dex?
I didn't watch a lot of it.
it.
I was hoping my guy Derek Carr was going to be slinging some drives. He did not take part in that. I did see Zadarius Smith, Happy Gilmore in it with the longest drive contest on Wednesday. I thought that was
and
hilarious. He had it pretty good. Yeah, he had it pretty good. I like that.
Pro athletes.
I love though that Judd basically loved that Kirill did this, because I think this is like something where Judd would write Kirill like a handwritten thank you note, just being like, "Thank you, Kirill, for taking off a meaningless competition and where you could have hurt yourself or done something dumb just to prove that you're the fastest skater and you pull a hamstring." And then Judd would be absolutely apoplectic that could have happened. So I love that Judd, like, he's gonna. I wouldn't be surprised at all. A handwritten thank you note to Kirill Kaprizov and for not taking part in the All-Star game. I find it hilarious.
Kirill, yes. You know what, too? If you watched on Friday night in the skills competition, Cale Makar in the fastest skater competition took a nasty fall. And I'm thinking to myself, this stupid this guy is a great player, right? He should be resting. But to Phil's point, I appreciate the fact that after calling for the end of the actual Pro Bowl game for about 5 years, that they just came up with a different thing. And like the 3-on-3 is still this attempt at, it's still competitive, and they actually play, of course, in OT, that format. What I like is football was like, you know what, we're done. Like, we're just going to come up with games. I appreciate that it might be silly and stupid, but at least it's a different thought process than we're going to try and replicate our game. I mean, flag football, that type of thing, I like it.
I did see Myles Garrett, I believe it was in the dodgeball portion of the Pro Bowl games, dislocated a toe. So there was at least one fairly serious injury that took place. So just be a little careful there.
That would hurt like hell.
Yeah. All right, my next statement. I'll say this. It's working. The Wild's goaltending rotation plan, that it's working. You have Marc-Andre Fleury, who is expected to be the number one guy here, rightfully so. You knew he was up there in age. He's hockey royalty. He's 38, though. And you kind of thought, can he still do it? Can he still carry that load and start 60 games or so? Like, is that what the Wild's plan is here? Because Philip Gustafsson, who knows? And after the first 2 games by both of those goalies, Judd was ready to sound the panic alarm of they have an insane goaltending problem here. Since then, though, this rotation is actually working very well, and Philip Gustafsson is exceeding a lot of those expectations. He's 11-7. He's made 18 starts, appeared in 19 games. He has a goal saved above average, which is an advanced metric of kind of league average save percentage being 0. His is +9. So he is stopping about 9 more pucks, 9 more shots than the average goalie is. It's actually one of the better figures in the NHL. And then you have Marc-Andre Fleury still, who maybe has come down to earth, is no longer the Vezina guy he was 2 years ago when he won it with Vegas in his last trip. But you have 2 goalies here who are reliable and stable, and that's all you can ask for in the postseason. There's going to be times where you need one of those 2 to take over a game or take over a series for sure. But the Wild, in my opinion, do not have a goaltending question mark. This rotation is working very well.
Is it fair to say, I'm going to piggyback with my own statement here, Cam Talbot's been okay in Ottawa. He hasn't been a train wreck or anything.
Yeah.
But he, be careful what you wish for.
Yep.
When you start chattering after the season's over on social media, you'll get your ass traded out of town by Billy Guerin. Is it fair to say that the Wild is in a better position goaltending-wise entering this year's playoffs if they started today than last year's playoffs? Because Gustafsson is better than Talbot. I think he's better than Talbot, but what do I know? I'm not the hockey whisperer. I'm not Judd's Hockey Show.
So I think the trade worked out far better than we expected, but I would guess, so the key to your question is this. Yes, assuming Fleury plays well, but it's always been that. Like it was, they're going to try to ride him in the playoffs as much as possible. Now, unfortunately, in Talbot's case, he got in game 6. So it was so late that it was basically done. But if Fleury can continue to keep up the type of play that we have seen throughout much of this year since his rough start, then the answer to your question is yes. But this all rides on Flower. It really does. It really does. Like if Gustafsson has to save the day completely, you're probably screwed.
Yeah. Okay. That's a fair characterization.
But yes, I mean the Talbot thing was. I mean, I do appreciate the fact that Guerin addressed that quickly and said, "Okay, this is not like I didn't build this team with the locker room culture to have a backup goalie who's pissed off at us."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think organizationally, the Wild's goaltending plan's in an amazing spot here. So you're not overpaying for Fleury. Gustafsson's popped up here. You can still kind of control him. And then Jesper Wallstedt has been the best goaltender in the AHL, who was your first-round pick 2 years ago. That's probably going to be your goaltender of the future for years to come. So it's a very tricky position to figure out in hockey. If you don't have goaltending, it can just absolutely shipwreck you. The Wild are actually very well-positioned here to be basically have their problems solved in net for a long time.
So you're saying if you're floating around on underdog fantasy that you might want to take a look at the Wild goaltending and act accordingly. That's
right. Yeah. Whether, make sure, they'll set the lines for you. So make sure, you're not taking an early, Marc-Andre Fleury or Gustafsson rotation. But once they got that guy in there, you can go to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code SKOR. I had a nice little win on Friday with just a little bit of hires on some bogeys during the PGA Pro-Am at Pebble Beach. Also, though, a fun announcement on Underdog Fantasy. They sent me an email over the weekend. Our guy Andrew sent me an email. Hey, Dex, why don't you plug this for us here? So on Thursday, because it's Super Bowl week here, on Thursday, they're going to put out a special over-under prop on Jalen Hurts. They're going to put it at 0.5 total yards. They're basically gifting you the first leg of a parlay. This is going to launch on Thursday. Now, you can add to this with other Chiefs and Eagles players, but basically they're gifting you the first leg on a Super Bowl Sunday for Underdog Fantasy on an over-under. I highly recommend taking the higher here on Jalen Hurts. And then you can use that as your nice little parlay.
Unless you think he's going to get smoked on the first play.
Unless he gets injured, which could be. Then the NFL is indeed rigged, but I don't think that's the case. You can use promo code SKOR, SKOR, first deposit up to $100, and you can make your Super Bowl Sunday bet, make wild bets as well. Plenty of options on Underdog Fantasy. Go download the Underdog Fantasy app.
I love all the memes that came out after the Arian Foster stuff on Pardon My Take. It's like Matt Ryan looking at the script of the second half of the Super Bowl from a few years ago.
It's an awesome. That was great. That was hilariously funny.
Oh, man. All right. Any other statements from you guys?
I got one more from a story I saw. I think it came out Friday or Saturday. But it's this. My statement is this. Just stop it already. So I think this was on Twitter, perhaps. Taylor Lewin of the Titans, the tackle, who's a good player, came out and said he thinks that number 12 in Tom Brady's honor should be retired across the league. Okay.
What?
He said that he thinks that number 12 should be taken out of rotation by the entire league. Stop this. All right. 42, Jackie Robinson, not only a great player, far more importantly, he is among the most important people in baseball history. He broke the color barrier, okay?
Well, we did this in the NHL, right? Didn't we retire Wayne Gretzky's number league-wide?
I'll get to this.
Okay.
But Jackie Robinson is synonymous not just with baseball, but our entire culture. Bill Russell, number 6, also a very important figure, okay? Not just a great player. but a very important cultural figure that goes beyond championships. Those two talk to me all day about this. Yeah. All right. Starting with Gretzky, though. Number one, what schlep is going to ask for 99? So if I could get it still, right? I'd like 99.
Find someone.
Oh, okay.
Who's like the Logan Paul or the Jake Paul of the NHL?
Entitled hockey kids, are you kidding me?
The team will deny it. But the fact is, Wayne Gretzky, phenomenal player, but that's what he was. He did nothing for the culture. Like, he didn't break a barrier. He did nothing. Yeah. And the Brady thing is another ridiculous. Like, do you understand Bill Russell, Jackie Robinson, their impact on society, like, justifies these decisions alone? But to have this, well, he was the GOAT. I mean, the GOAT is this subjective, fun discussion, perhaps.
By the way, there might be a better quarterback that we're watching right now in the NFL.
But my point is this. I am actually, the Gretzky thing, 99 is such a unique pair of digits that I don't agree with retiring it, but most people aren't going to ask for it. Number 12? You want to take number 12 out of just stop with this already. Understand that the people that at least two of the people we have done this for have had more of an impact on not just the games themselves, but American history in some cases as far as sports go.
It's a weird precedent when you're just looking at this player was dominant, and so no one can ever wear in the history of the league or the future of the league, right? Can you imagine if baseball did this? Like prematurely back in 100 years ago. Oh, Babe Ruth. Right. What a career for Babe Ruth. Nobody can ever wear the number 3 ever again. You're explaining you're explaining to some, 25-year-old all-star player, okay, so Babe Ruth. Yeah, no, there's this guy 100 years ago. His name was George. They called him Babe because he liked to eat baby Ruths as a kid. He ate hot dogs between doubleheaders and was a pretty horrible person off the field, but he was the first guy to hit a bunch of home runs, and so now you can't wear number 3.
No, right.
It's just, let's just celebrate. Yeah, well, Tom Brady had a great career. At this point, he's the greatest quarterback to ever live. That's probably going to change at some point in our lives, as it always does with sports, right?
And league-wide, so you're telling me that Tom Brady's number 12 should be taken out of circulation by a Vikings team that hasn't retired Moss's 84, which is a much, much more legitimate debate.
Actually, I think we should retire Tom Brady's number across all sports. No one can ever wear number 12. Baseball,
you don't
basketball.
understand. You don't understand the significance of Jackie Robinson or Bill Russell. If you're telling me now, let's just start retiring numbers universally. I'm offended.
Hannes Wagner. I don't even know what number. I think he played before there were numbers. His number would have been 7. Therefore, no one can ever wear number 7 ever again.
Anyway,
did Hannes Wagner have a number?
Come on. Let's see. He might not have. Did Ty Cobb? I think Ty Cobb might
33. Not have. Hannes Wagner wore number 33.
Did Ty Cobb have one?
Let's see here. Ty Cobb reference.
The Georgia page, Ty Cobb, one of the nastiest players.
Ty Cobb, I don't think had a number. So he played before there were numbers?
Well, okay, yeah. What
they had to have had numbers by the late 20s.
Hold on, I'm looking. He played in an era before players had jersey numbers, which is why his name hangs on Comerica's Park.
No one can ever wear pinstripes ever again because
no one can wear. The Georgia Peach. The Georgia Peach is stealing another base and spiking more players.
Ty Cobb would stab the shortstop in every series.
Great film. Who played him? Tommy Lee Jones. I think Tommy Lee Jones played.
Did he? I've never seen it. It's called Cobb, right? The movie's called Cobb.
Yeah, you should watch it. You enjoy it.
Amazing. All right, well, that's a wrap on Mackie and Judd here today.
Goodbye.
Tomorrow on Purple Daily, if you haven't experienced the draft Nick that is Thor Nystrom, you're in for a treat tomorrow. You guys did a post-Senior Bowl episode with him on Purple Daily last week, and we'll have a bunch more for him tomorrow on Purple Daily, so check that out. And if you could, please hit the subscribe button on the SKOR North YouTube channel and the like button. Help spread the word about this daily Minnesota sports, entertainment, and therapy. And also for the Mackie and Judd podcast feed on Apple, a 5-star rating and a positive review goes a long way as well. We'll see you guys tomorrow.